welcome back to Let's Mom. So today's video is super exciting. I've been wanting to do this video for a long time, and if you saw from the title, it is my ghost story. It's my real, true life ghost story that happened to me back in 2013. Now, I have been, ever since I was a kid, asking for something to happen. I've always questioned and wondered, are ghosts real? Do they exist? And of course you have adults telling you, no, they're not real, they don't exist. And I always questioned it. And even as an adult, I feel like I'm a believer, but I'm also a skeptic. And I think that you should be, because not everything is a ghost. Not everything is truly a haunting. Most things can be explained with logic. There's always usually a good explanation for it. But there's always still that thing in the back of my head that's always wondered. And I finally got my answer back in 2013. And I'm gonna share that with you today. Okay, so my ghost story takes place in my in-laws' house. They have this beautiful home, and I believe she said that they were told it was built in 1902. I was pregnant with my third child. My husband had been TDY, that is a military term. He was training Air Force in Mississippi. And we had went to go visit my family and my mom and dad and then his parents as well. And we were staying with them. I was sleeping in the room that we just recently found out was considered the parlor. The 1900s. Instead of a funeral home, that's where, when you had someone pass in the house, that's where you'd have the funeral. The funeral would be right there in the parlor room in the house. They would just lay out the deceased, and all the family would come and pay their respects, and I guess they'd sit up with the dead all night. That would have been the room I slept in. And oh gosh, just thinking about it, it definitely was not a scary experience, but it was unsettling, I think. Kind of blew my mind. And that particular night, it was during the middle of the week. I don't remember the exact day, but I know it was the middle of the week sometime. I could not go to sleep. I couldn't go to sleep. I wasn't at that stage of uncomfortable pregnancy, but for some reason I could not go to sleep that night. I had been up all night long. It was getting close to 4 in the morning. I'd watched, I don't know how many movies, 2, 3 movies that night, and I could not go to sleep. And I was getting frustrated because at that point I had 2 other children. And I'm like, they're gonna be up and I haven't slept a wink and I'm gonna be exhausted. And I was getting frustrated. So that last movie that I watched, I was like, okay, I'm done. Turn the TV off. I was like, I don't care if it gets uncomfortable. I'm gonna flip over on my stomach and I'm going to sleep. So that's what I did. I turned the TV off. I flipped over on my stomach and put my face in the pillow. Almost immediately, I felt, oh God, the TV in the living room just got louder. I almost had a heart attack. Oh, okay, back to it. Oh God. The kid that I was pregnant with tried to give me a heart attack by turning the volume up to probably like 100. Okay, where was I? So, almost immediately to the point when I stuck my face in the pillow, I felt the bed compress on the side, as though either someone was sitting on the bed or someone was getting ready to get in the bed. And I'm going to tell you what happens. When you have a real experience, you get a lot of things. It happens very quickly, just like that. You've got whatever's happening, it happens fast. But in your mind, it doesn't happen fast. It slows down. It feels like it's going at like a slow motion, because your brain is trying to keep up with what's going on, what's happening. And it's trying to find the logic in what's happening. And so I'll tell you what I thought. As soon as I felt the bed compress, I thought my daughter was getting in the bed with me, because in the way that the bed was set up in the house, and the same for our house that we lived in North Dakota, she would come in through the bedroom and walk around and crawl in on my side. She'd like crawl over me to get into the middle of the bed because my husband was here. So even since I have felt that feeling so many times, my brain automatically went to that. I thought she was getting in the bed. The only difference is, at the same time that I thought that, I also kind of went to the fact that my husband wasn't there in the bed. And if she had come in there, she would have just got in on that side. She wouldn't have crawled all the way, came around and crawled in over top of me. She just would have gotten in the bed. And the other reason that I realized it was not her is because at that moment when the bed compressed down on my side, I also felt the bed compress on the other side, but it stopped. It stopped. And I realized at that moment that someone was sitting in that motherly thing where we sit on the bed and then we put our hand on the other side of our child, and that's how we sit. Like, we just sit there like that and we talk to them. So that's what I was feeling. Again, all this happened very quickly. I'm saying it in a very slow motion kind of way because in my brain that's how it played out. So then, if that wasn't enough, so we've got the sitting, the leaning, they whispered in my ear. They whispered in my ear. Now, I will tell you, hearing it in real life, it did not sound like if I were having a conversation with you. If it were just two people talking and our voices sound like two people talking. I can tell you that I know it was a woman because I could tell it was a female voice. And other than that, I'll tell you it sounded like something on a different frequency. It just, the tones were different. It wasn't like a voice you would hear just like you and I. It was a different tone, but I could tell it was female. And to this day, I've questioned my mind. What did she say? The one thing that I will say that I did pick up, because again, my brain has jumped all over the dang place. I've went to my child. Now I'm trying to piece together what's actually happening because my face is in the pillow. I can't see anything. So I'm just trying to envision what's actually taking place by the way it feels. And so what she said, and what I think she said, was something along the line, you need to go to sleep. I know sleep was in it, and I know you was in it, and so thinking back, I'm quite positive that she said, you need to go to sleep. You need to go to sleep, or you need to try to go to sleep. And hearing that voice in my ear, I could not believe it. I was completely baffled. I was overjoyed and freaked out, and I can't even tell you, I was speechless. My body was speechless. I laid there thinking, what am I going to do? What do I do with this? How do I process what just took place? Now, given at the same time that I'm trying to question and figure out what the heck is going on, and I can't believe this has finally happened, I can still feel her sitting there. After she whispered, she never got up. She continued sitting there on the bed as though she had whispered those words and sat back up, and she's still there. I can feel the pressure of her body leaning up against me. And I don't know what I'm going to do at this point. I mean, I've wanted this forever. For so long, I had wanted to know, and now I know, and now I don't know how to process it. So, I'm laying there trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this. Okay. If I turn my head and look, what am I going to see? What am I going to see sitting there beside me? Is it going to look like a woman? Is it going to look like something from a horror movie? You know, what am I going to see? I mean, logically, I feel like it's going to be a woman or nothing at all. But I've never seen a ghost. And, of course, I have no idea what I'm going to see. So I'm a little bit panicked on that. But I also don't want to continue laying there like a kid with a blanket over her head, sweating to death, freaking out, going, oh my God, I can't look. I didn't want to be like that. I can't scream. I've got a house full of, 2 sleeping kids, 3 sleeping adults, I believe. Yeah, it should have been 3. A bunch of dogs. I'm like, if I scream or panic or do any of those things, I'm going to wake everybody up in the house. And that's really not the reaction that needs to happen with this experience, because it wasn't scary. It just kind of blew my mind. So I thought, okay, let's think rationally. Maybe I'm having sleep paralysis. And if I'm having sleep paralysis, I won't be able to move my body. So I decided, let's experiment here. In the middle of all this, I can still feel her. She's still sitting there. She has not moved. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to move my leg or my hip or something, just ever so slightly. And if I can move, then that means this is not sleep paralysis. I know I'm awake. I'm wide awake. I never had a moment to even close my, it never happened. I never fell asleep. It happened so quickly. So my heart's racing just thinking about it. When you have a real experience, it sticks with you for the rest of your life. So I moved my hip, I guess, just ever so slightly, just the most slightest movement you could ever move. And I felt the pressure just lift right up. And not like a clumsy human being getting off the bed, but just both sides, the pressure on the one side of my body and then the pressure on the other side. Everything lifted and it was gone. The pressure was gone. And I'm like, okay, don't have sleep paralysis, and now I don't feel her body anymore. And the other thing that I thought was really strange is I didn't feel the coldness that most paranormal investigators will tell you, if you come into a cold spot or you feel a coldness, it's a spirit. She didn't feel cold. And I thought that was interesting. So I've always wondered about that. I'm like, why didn't she feel cold? But she didn't. I didn't feel any cold air. Nothing. Just felt like if a person was sitting beside me. So now I'm like, okay, well, I've got to turn my head now. She's obviously not sitting on the bed with me any longer. But I've got to look. I can't continue to lay here in this bed like a statue. And I need to turn every light on in this bedroom. And I got to tell somebody what happened, because my whole body was alive. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I got to tell somebody. So I finally work up enough courage to turn my head and look. And of course, there was no one there. And so I got up. I turned every light on in the bedroom. And then I thought, oh gosh, who am I going to call? It's like getting close to 4:30 in the morning. One who's awake and isn't going to mind me calling and freaking out. So I called my mom and I told her what had happened. And I don't think she believed me, or maybe she thought it was a dream. I'm not sure, but she was the person I called and told. And during our conversation, I hear the doorknob twisting, and I'm like, oh my God, it's not over. It's not over. But it was my mother-in-law. She was getting up to go, I think, ride her bike, and she heard me talking, and so I got to tell her about it as well. But I've had regrets of my reaction to it. But you never know how you're going to react. And the truth is, you can't really make them cooperate. You can't. I know that we see all of these, paranormal investigation shows, and they're asking them to do this and that. Well, I've been asking my whole life during different situations. We lived in a house in Texas that I thought maybe something was going on there, and I asked for stuff to happen and didn't really get what I would want or what I would say would have been 100% fact. So I don't think that you can make them do anything they don't want to do. And, but this was actually a kind of a beautiful experience. So I always felt bad. My reaction wasn't, I know, or I know, I can't go to sleep though, or, just like a regular conversation. But I mean, would you really in that moment have, oh, hello. I know, I can't go to sleep. What do you have any recommendations? I mean, you're not going to react that way. But I still kind of regret not turning and looking to see what she looked like, because I have it kind of narrowed down in my mind as to who I think it is. I have 3 possible options or 3 possible people that it could be. And, but I don't know for sure. And it's bothered me. And I also, every time I go to their house now, I pop my head in there and I say hello, because I just know she's there. I know she's in that room. And I feel like the whole experience just felt like that motherly instinct. The only creepy thing about it is that she watched me the whole night. She knew I was awake. She knew I couldn't go to sleep. I mean, that's an odd feeling, knowing that you're being watched. It's a little bit creepy. And she had to have been, because she knew I couldn't sleep. She's probably like, I wish that lady would just turn the TV off and go to sleep. How many of these crappy movies do I have to watch? Oh my gosh. Kind of creepy to think, but whatever. So that is my ghost story, and it is an experience, and I hope that I have more, because looking back on it, I'll definitely approach it a little bit differently. But it was the first one, so of course it took me by surprise and left me a little speechless, a little motionless, and a little bit panicked inside, wondering how I should handle it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know it's a little different, and it's Christmas time, and you wouldn't expect a spooky story at Christmas, but I just really felt that it was fitting, because in past traditions, ghost stories are told during the Christmas season. So if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. I love doing these type of videos. The problem is I've really only had one experience that I feel is 100% true, and that I can get on here and not lie. I don't want to make up stories. I'd really like to tell true stories. So, and I don't have a lot of those. I have a lot of things that could have been, but they're not 100%. So if you'd be interested in seeing any of those, just let me know. I can do a video, but just know that they wouldn't be 100% like 100% a ghost. I'm torn between them on whether it was an actual spirit or if it was something that could be logically explained. But I can still do a video, because I think that they're still really interesting. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, if you loved the content and you'd like to see more, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you, and I will be seeing you next time. Take care. Bye.